Hello friends, welcome to my channel. I'm Em and my books are everywhere. Today I'm going to be going over my books that I've read so far in October and my TBR for the rest of October. I have this fun t-shirt I'm going to show you. I am haunted by my TBR. So if you watched my video from a couple of weeks ago, you know that I had a bunch of books that I was going to try to read in that first full week of October. And I did okay, but it took me almost 2 weeks because I did end up getting sick. Guys, I don't know what's going on, but I just keep getting off and on sick and it just like takes me out. So because I was feeling under the weather, I didn't get a lot of reading done. I didn't have very many books that were on audiobook. Because sometimes I can listen to that when I'm feeling under the weather. It's just that my eyes get tired, so I can't physically read. But I am going to talk about the books that I finished and then go into the rest of the books that I plan for in October. The cat.
So I did finish this Humphrey. Let go of that. Let go of that.
So I did finish Shadows of Self by Brandon Sanderson, and this is book 2 in the second era of the Mistborn books. And this was a very fun read. I think I did like Alloy of Law a bit better. This was more to do with the politics of the world, which is fine. It was very interesting and I had a good time, but I think that Alloy of Law is still my favorite so far in this series. But this was on my list to finish by the first Saturday in October, and I didn't quite do it. I think I finished like on Tuesday or Wednesday after that. I did finish In This Moment by Gabrielle Meyer, and this is book 2 in the Timeless series, and I loved it. It was so good. So in this book, we're following some of the characters from book 1, and some other new characters are introduced, and we have 3 timelines going in this one. We have right before the Civil War, right before World War II, and right before 9/11. I do have book 3 ready to go, and I am so eager to start that. I also read for the Read Christie 2024. The book for this month was The Mirror Cracked by Agatha Christie, of course. And this is a Miss Marple book, and it is a fun one. I do read this one more often than some of the other, not some of the other Miss Marples, but some of the other Agatha Christies. So if you're looking for a fun Agatha Christie, this is a great one. It's very interesting because the storyline that's in here is something that happened to an actress that was fairly popular in the 30s and 40s. So that's very interesting that Agatha Christie either took inspiration from that or maybe it was on the back of her subconscious, but it does kind of mirror the mirror cracked real life in this book. So really cool. Highly recommend The Mirror Cracked by Agatha Christie. It's also called The Mirror Cracked from Side to Side in the UK editions. I did also finish The Westing Game, and this is for my book club. I'll be discussing that in person along with From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil Frankweiler. Both of these were chosen for my in-person book club for this month. These are 2 of my absolute favorite books of all time. They are middle grade books. One of them is from the late 60s and one of them from the late 70s, but they are so well written. I really recommend them. The language in them doesn't talk down to children, and there's, you know, if you're a child and reading these books, it's going to stretch your vocabulary, and there's the situations and the character development. If you're an adult, you'll appreciate all of that. So even though these were written for middle grade children, I think that adults would enjoy them very much. I do every time I reread them. And that's The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin, and From the Mixed Up Files of Mrs. Basil Frankweiler by E.L. Konigsburg. I also read a couple of Nancy Drew books, Nancy's Mysterious Letter by Carolyn Keene, and The Sign of the Twisted Candles by Carolyn Keene. And I know this was the only one that was on my TBR for that first week of October. It did go into the second week when I read this one, and then I picked this one up right after, because I am trying to make my way through this original series again as a reread. I have read them all when I was younger, but I'm trying to read them all in more quick succession. I did also finish Chaos at the Lazy Bones Bookshop, and I will be discussing this in the live sprints that we're having on my channel on the 17th. And I'm not sure about the 24th because I will be out of town. And then I hope to also on the 31st wrap everything up for the Read Along, Knit Along 2024. This was such a fun, cozy mystery book, and there's knitting in it, which is perfect because we did do a read along, knit along for this book. When my friend picked it, she told me that she didn't know. It was after the first sprints that we did where she saw that there's a big knitting component in there. There's a knitting group that meets regularly and that's talked about throughout the book, and just different knit items and stuff. So very good knitting representation in this book, and it's a fun, cozy mystery. And we'll be, like I said, talking more about this during our sprints. I have a couple of books on my Kindle that I also finished that I forgot about. I read The Cat Who Ate Danish Modern by Lillian Jackson Braun, and that's part of the Cat Who series that I started rereading, and it was just as fun as I remembered, and I do want to continue in that series. Probably not till November now because I do have so many books left to read in October. I also read Steeped to Death by Gretchen Rue, and that was the first book in a cozy mystery series. I think there's at least one, if not two other books, or it might be longer, but as far as I know, I think there's just 2 or 3 so far. It was fun. So it does have some like witch magic, but it's more like based on tea, and it's very, very light. It's not very supernatural, and it's not like spells and stuff like that. But yeah, it was pretty fun and just a nice, fun, cozy. And then I also read The Bookwanderers, and I didn't write the author, so I'm going to put it right here. And that was a fun book. So I heard a couple of people talk about it. I think Stormy in Storm Reads had read it recently, I believe, because she does a lot of middle grade. But it's about Tilly and her friend that are able to go into books or certain books and interact with the characters of the book, and that premise just intrigued me, so I had to read it, and it was so good. And there is it is a series, so I do want to pick up the next book and then see what happens in that one. And those were the last of the books that I read in October. I did not finish this book, and you guys, I'm gonna whip out my Spanish accent. This is El Panzon and the Great Spelling Bee by Marciano Flores, and this is a middle grade-ish book. Lots of little stories. I'm about almost halfway through, and it's really fun. So this is written about a little boy named Epi who is on the more plumper side, and he and his pals get together by this taco truck to play football, to chat, to catch up. He spends the night at a friend's house, or maybe he just goes, he spends the night there. And just like lots of little stories, they have lots of great Hispanic American culture. Lots of values are put into these stories. I haven't gotten to the spelling bee part, other than he is always studying for the spelling bee that he wants to win, and he has one major competitor that he competes with. Pretty much it's them two competing, and the other kid has been winning. There is a thread that goes throughout, but mostly I feel like it's snippets of just like little slices of life and little lessons that he's learning and little situations that he's in, him and his little brother and their family. So I will do a review of this once I'm finished with it. So this is on my TBR still for October, and I am hoping to finish that before the end of the month. I also would like to throw in another Nancy Drew book. So this is number 10, Password to Larkspur Lane by Carolyn, Keene. So I'm hoping to get to this through the end of the month. In this one, there's a homing pigeon with a message tied to its leg, and Nancy gets involved in that mystery. I'm still plugging away at Crime and Punishment, and there's been a new development in that my friend, oh, she speaks Russian, she is reading along with me. But she's reading in Russian. So we're not very far into it, but it's so fun to be able to ask her questions about the culture, about the language, about the translation. This is my old copy from when I read this the second time. The first time I read it in Spanish, my dad's copy. And the second time I read it probably shortly after high school or maybe my senior year, because I did have in high school a European lit class and we read Dostoyevsky in that. But look at this book plate that I have in there. Isn't that cute? And I'm also still plugging away at Jane Eyre. Let's see, where am I? When did I start this? I think I started this book in February and I'm in chapter 10. So I don't hope to finish this by October, but I hope to finish it hopefully this year. We'll see how that goes. So this has been my year-long read, but I do want to make more progress in it in October. And then the next book for the Mist Along that I've been joining with Tiffany is, guys, I have it in my cover. It's The Bands of Mourning by Brandon Sanderson. So I haven't started this one at all, but I'm hoping to get this done in October because the discussion, I think it's November 2nd. I want to finish this in October so that I could participate live in that discussion. And another book that I want to read, and that was on my TBR for the first part of October, but I didn't get to, is Beyond Ivy Walls. I've been wanting to read this book since before I got it, and then when I did get it, I think I pre-ordered it, and so it came, or I ordered it the day that it came out. And I've been wanting to read it this whole time, and I just still haven't gotten to it. So I'm hoping to get to this before the end of October. This is by Rachel Fordham, and this is kind of inspired by Beauty and the Beast, and takes place in 1903 in Iowa. I'm very interested to read this one. Another book that I'd like to get to in October would be my very first Jamie Jo Wright. I haven't read anything by her. The Lost Boys of Barlow Theater has gotten such great reviews and is talked about highly. And this is a dual timeline. It takes place in 1915 and then in the present day. I am just so excited for this. I am really liking the multiple timeline books, like the Timeless series, and I know this is a different situation where it's not the same character in different timelines, but I like a story in the past and a story in another timeline, usually the present. So I definitely want to get to this in October, and if I finish all of those books, then I also want to read this one, Spectres in the Glass House by Jamie Jo Wright. So I bought both of these at the same time, but I do want to start with this one just because I'm a scaredy cat and this is like a serial killer one. So I want to see how I do with this before I pick up this, and I hopefully will be okay. And then a couple of other books that I want to read in October. This one I read every year in October, Halloween Party by Agatha Christie, just because I like to read seasonally, and because it's Halloween Party, I always try to read this like the week of Halloween. Agatha Christie is just my favorite author. If you've watched my videos, I say that time and time again. There's always something familiar about reading her books that just give me such a cozy feeling. And even though they are murder mysteries, they're clean. The murders are off page. The language is not strong at all. There's no open door, any kind of scenes. So I love her writing. The mysteries are great. And even if I know who the killer is, I still enjoy reading them time and time again. Another book that I want to get to this month is For a Lifetime, because the 4th book in the Timeless series by Gabrielle Meyer comes out early in November, and I want to have this one finished before that one comes out. I did pre-order it, so I hopefully will get it right when it's released. And yeah, I want to be caught up in that series. I love it, and I don't want to be spoiled, so I want to make sure to get it read. This one to get read as soon as I can in October, so that the other one I can get read too, and then I don't have to worry about spoilers. I still want to get to Laurel's Dream, and that is on my Kindle. And I started to read the Sweater Weather series books. That was in September. I read Just Don't Fall and A Groom of One's Own, so I want to read the in-between book there. Or that's not the Sweater Weather, that might be the Appies, but you know how they like mix in with each other. And I think I have that one on my Kindle, but if I don't get to it in October, I'm fine with that. And then finally, the last book that I want to finish in October, and this is because of the 52 book club challenge that I've been doing all year. I need to read this for the prompt from 2 or 3 weeks ago. So this is Voltaire by Candide, and I'm not going to be reading the whole book. I'll just be reading Candide, which is not that long. It is 96 pages, so hopefully I can get that done in October also. Guys, this was just so many books, but I made it through. Thanks for sticking with me. As always, if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please comment below if you've read any of these books, what you thought of them. I'd love to know. If you have recommendations for me or think that I should prioritize some of these books over others that I have left for the rest of October, I would really appreciate that. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you next time.